Hello, welcome to weather. As the dry season continues, we see quite a bit of dry vegetation around. The winds are picking up, and so too are the bushfires. This recent bushfire in Piparo lowered air quality, and it was threatening those neighboring communities, particularly in central Trinidad. Thus, bearing in mind that during this fire season, there are some tips that you should take to heed. One is that you need a fire permit in order to light any outdoor fires at this time. And also remembering that once you do have any of those bushfires around, they will lower the air quality, particularly with that fine ash particles. Meanwhile, we'll also begin to see some of the conditions in terms of the visibility being restricted by the smoke. And not only that, if you are driving nearby, take the necessary precautions as well. Now, as the dry season continues, the winds will begin to increase into March. We basically are seeing a strong high pressure system dominating the area today. This one is just southwest of Bermuda, and it will extend a ridge all the way across the Greater Antilles. Meanwhile, we continue to see these breezy conditions likely as that ridge begins to build southward across the region into Sunday. So what that means then is that we're going to see fresh to strong winds, particularly in the central Caribbean Sea, and with gales and rough seas developing especially offshore Colombia. Meanwhile, over the eastern Caribbean, we have moderate to locally fresh trade winds, and those are expected over the next few days. And the winds and the seas will slowly ease over the central and Caribbean through Sunday night through Monday as this Atlantic high pressure heads towards the northeast. Now, meanwhile, we still have some Saharan dust around. It's at negligible amounts across Trinidad and Tobago. The Saharan air layer shows moderate concentrations further out towards the Caribbean Sea, but for us, it's mostly at lower concentrations. Unfortunately, if you look towards Africa here, these dark oranges and reds, you'll see this another plume of dust moving over the central Atlantic, and this may begin to affect us as early as next week, Thursday. Now, we're closer to home. We have been seeing only patches of cloud and one or two passing showers. Today's high at Piarco was 33.4 degrees Celsius, and currently it's 30 degrees Celsius. And at Crown Point, we saw 32.3 degrees Celsius here, and currently it's now 28. Now, in the forecast tonight, Tobago can expect a mostly fair and cool night with a minimum of 24 degrees Celsius at Crown Point, as well as in Trinidad. We're expecting a nighttime low at 22 degrees Celsius yet again across Piarco. We'll see similar cool conditions as we continue into early next morning. Meanwhile, just one or two showers are likely as we end the working week on Friday. Generally sunny conditions, only interrupted by a few partly cloudy patches. Look for a high of 32 degrees Celsius at Crown Point, though feeling like 36. And for Trinidad, 33 degrees Celsius is likely here, though feeling like 36 as well. So just remember, as you head about your business, drink lots of water and try and stay cool. Now, heading towards the outlook, we have been seeing quite a bit of occasional cloudiness from time to time. But on Saturday, we're looking for mostly sunny skies with just one or two passing showers for the most part. And then into Sunday, these sunny conditions are expected to continue with just those isolated showers around. Now, for mariners, there's no change offshore. We continue to see moderate to locally fresh winds. These will begin to whip the waves maybe by the end of the weekend into next week. But currently, we're looking at waves of around 1 to 1.5 meters, maybe getting up to 2.5 meters further out offshore. And be mindful about that as we go into the next few days. Fisherfolk looking for those 1.5 meters nearer to offshore, and then closer to shore, we're looking at 1 meter in those sheltered bays. Now, for Port of Spain, you have high tides at 7:10 a.m. and at 7:41 p.m., with low tides at 12:46 a.m. and at 1:50 p.m. And for Scarborough, it's at 6:43 a.m. and at 7:24 p.m. And meanwhile, the low tides are at 12:30 a.m. and at 1:20 p.m. And just remember to wrap up that although we have negligible amounts of Saharan dust at this time, we have yet another plume expected by the middle of next week. So take those precautions.